The board members are appointed by city council. The board is an extension of the city of Sugar Land and is not an independent organization. So board activity is subject to the Texas Local Government Code. So a quorum, that's anytime there are three or more. So right now there are three of you guys, so this is definitely officially a meeting. This is a quorum. So when there's a quorum formed, we have to make sure that the public knows that we are meeting. And they also need an agenda of the items that we'll be discussing. We cannot discuss anything that is not on that agenda and published to the public. So what you see is all we can talk about today. And then any additional meetings, if there's something that needs to be brought up, then we need to know beforehand so we can put that on the agenda. And we can talk about that today as well for the next agenda. So anything we want to talk about next meeting, we need to know about that so we can make sure that it's on the agenda and it's published for the public to see. Every January, we'll have a manual orientation and ethics training, I believe, every January. And then the board will meet at least 2 times per year. Those are like the big meetings. Everything in between is going to be our meetings for planning, for events, things like that. And then regulatory meetings, we're going to discuss also today how frequently we would like to meet in order to plan events. Any member that misses more than 3 mandatory meetings is immediately removed from the board. Roles and responsibility: to study the development of the local music scene, assist in implementing programs to meet the needs of local music industry, and review matters that may affect the music industry in the city. I don't know if you guys have seen the operation of the Music Advisory Board in Houston, but a lot of the times they go into the city and they find out what the issues are, and we do a whole overall annual presentation to the city to kind of let them know the state of music. So they usually call it the State of Music meeting. It's a big workshop that they have. The city council is also invited to. That's something we definitely want to look into. But kind of letting them know what the state of music is in the city. How is the industry growing? What are we doing to, invite more musicians here and make sure that the scene is growing here in the city? So the board review. The city liaison, which is me, will maintain a calendar to ensure events where board gatherings constitute a quorum are appropriately posted. So like this one, we went ahead and scheduled 2 back-to-back since we were having such a hard time getting everybody on the same page. That's kind of what we want to do, right? Like go ahead and get a couple of them so everybody knows in advance and they can be here, but also so we can go ahead and file with the city secretary and everybody's aware of what we're doing way beforehand and we can be prepared. Requests made to the music environment. Move all inquiries through the city liaison. So for instance, when we had Sugar Land Cultural Arts Foundation reach out, that really should have gone directly back to the city because all of those questions and wherever we are, it looks like a representation. Doesn't look like, it is a representation of the city at that place. So we need to make sure that the city's aware and it's approved before we do it because it's basically saying the city signs off on this event. The board can discuss inquiries during the next scheduled public meeting. So say for instance, there's an inquiry between meetings, we can't email about it. It has to be on the agenda. So if you say, hey, Shay, can we add to the agenda? Sugar Land Cultural Art Foundation wants to talk about this. We have to talk about that as a group in public so people know what our decision is and what the event is going to be. Members should not make commitments on behalf of the board without consensus of the city and other board members. So again, we don't want to say, yes, we'll definitely do that. We have to all decide. Like, I'm not even going to individually decide. I have to bring that to you guys as well. Any questions? Sweet. Okay, the Open Meetings Act. Do I know this part too? Or you want to? I can. Okay, I'll give it to Meredith.
This is gonna be really easy because Shay just went over most of the requirements of
Okay.
the Open Meetings Act. So basically, we have to post the meeting 72 hours in advance. We're gonna have the name of the meeting, board, the date, hour, place, and subject. And like as Shay said, all your decisions must happen in public. You can't have any closed.
Oh, I can't do that.
You can, I can just email it to you if you'd like.
No, so I can like read it versus, on my notes, because I'll write something and I won't remember why I wrote it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. No, it's just for me. Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, as Shay said, you can only discuss items on the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, you can't discuss it. If you get an email inquiry, you do need to send it to Ebony because then they'll place it on the agenda. If you talk outside of the meeting, which is a quorum, which would be 3 or more of you, and if you do that, it's called a walking quorum. That is a very bad thing. The district attorney doesn't like it. The Texas Attorney General doesn't like it. And there's actually a fine and jail time if you don't. So just don't reply all because reply all would be a meeting. This is a small board, but don't you know, like things on social media if it's pertaining to the board, if it's in your personal capacity, pertaining to, hey, that's a nice show, or I like that play, or that set, or I don't know, magic words that you guys are creative people use. But you could do that, but say, hey, as a music advisory board member, I like this, don't do that, that's bad. There's also, you know, social functions. So if you're going to a training or you go to the Cultural Arts Festival or go to any galas that Shay happens to put on because she's really good at that, then that's not a meeting, that's a social function and you don't have to have that posted. We may post that there's a notice of a quorum, but there's no set agenda and y'all are allowed to socialize amongst each other. So as I said, there are some criminal penalties. You go ahead and do that. I know you're not going to. But it's a fine and county jail. And if the DA is having a really bad day, it could be both. I don't think any of y'all would look really good in county orange. You probably don't want to eat what they're cooking, so I'm sure that it's not gonna be a problem for you. So best practices, just don't talk about city businesses outside of a posted meeting. Now, if you run into each other at Starbucks, keep it light. Don't say, hey, you remember we talked about that? Kind of starts to get you in trouble. Don't post on Facebook, Twitter, blog, whatever people are doing this week. And just when you're in a meeting, stick to the items on the agenda. Don't say, hey, and then go down a rabbit trail, because that's going to get you in trouble. For extra fun, because I'm sitting in the meeting with you, if you violate it, there's a potential that I violated. That's not going to happen. I'm a single mom. I'll be in my car before you finish your sentence, because I do not look good in county orange. So there's the Open Records Act. This is the greatest thing ever, according to people that are not in the government. This is our transparency, the sunshine law here in Florida. So this basically says that any document that you make pertaining to city business that routes to the city is open to the public. So when you apply for this board, you probably got a little piece of paper that says, do I want my information public or not? Hopefully you said, no, I don't, because you guys may get stalkers. If you didn't, there's still time. You can go back and change that to no, I don't want my information public, because you don't want some random person going, hey, I like the music advisory board. I'd like to see what their landscaping looks like. Where do they live? What is their personal email? Go ahead and check the note. I'd like to keep it all to myself. And it doesn't just have to be an email or notes like that. It could be a voicemail, or you write on the back of a napkin and drop it on someone's desk. So under the Open Records Act, if somebody makes a request, we have to produce that document. So anything that you happen to have on your personal email, if you send it to the city, that's good, because then we have a copy. We don't have to go back and say, hey, could you find this for me? If it's on your phone, it's a text message, we will ask you for screenshots. We will have to release it unless an exception applies. So any medium, any location. So processing a request comes in. My friend Linda, who is sitting behind you, our city clerk, then has the privilege of determining who she's going to route it to and who has to find the information and send it to the requester. Best practice, just copy the city whenever you're having communication. If you get a question from the residents or somebody else, forward it to Ebony or Shay, let them handle it for you. That way we have it on our servers. We don't have to do a search of your devices, and we have it, and it's not your responsibility. We'll take care of it. That being said, we're going to ask, most likely, we don't want you communicating directly with those. Make sure that it's going through your staff liaison so that you have the voice of the city, you know, and I'll talk to you a little bit about which hat you're wearing, but it's really important so the residents know which hat you're wearing. If you're wearing your citizen hat, or if you're wearing your, I'm a city representative on the music advisory board hat. So I went through that quickly because she already covered most of it. Do you have any questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Right.
Did this part.
I think we should hear over there.
On up again?
Yes.
Well,
think so. Yes.
Oh, this is my favorite thing. Okay. It's gonna take a couple minutes. So we are required to have annual training. So if you get to enjoy it this year, congratulations, you'll get to enjoy it next year. I do 2-year cycle. This is the first year cycle on this game. So if you pay attention, you know the answers, you'll be prepared for next year. After that, I'll do a different game. But this is required by our code of ordinances because our city council wants everybody to be as ethical as possible because you are a representative of the city. So this year we are playing the game of ethics. So we have 3 objectives. You're going to receive an overview of the code. You'll receive the training as required, and fingers crossed, serve your term with no violations. You don't want to crane your neck. There's a copy right there. Still like low income.
Yeah, here.
And this is gonna go for the whole time. So who gets to play this game every year? So members of city council get to play every game. Members of administrative advisory boards such as yourself gets to play. And every once in a while, we invite former members to come play for us. And there's a couple provisions that apply for candidates. As we go through this, you're gonna learn about these 8 rules. Not all of them are gonna apply to you in your capacity. However, I don't know how much you're gonna enjoy this board. If you love it and just wanna jump all in and become a city council person. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over those rules as well, just in case you have expectations and loftier goals now that you see how cool we really are. So there's 8 basic rules. So the first rule is conflict of interest, special economic benefit. This is a state law as well as a code of ordinance provision. So you are not allowed to vote on any item that you have a conflict of interest. You have to fill out a form and file it with the city clerk's office. And you say, okay, well, what is a conflict? It's a business entity investment. So it's a rule of 10% or 15,000. If you own 10% more of the value of a business or $15,000 or more of the value of the business, congratulations, you have a conflict of interest. Real property rule 2.5. So if you were serving on city council, BSC, ZBA, you would also have rule 2.5. So if you own 2.5 thousand or more of the real property value, then you also have a conflict. Now, when I say you for these provisions, keep in mind that I am also including your family members, you, your spouse, your children, your parents. They all get to play. So what happens if you decide you have a conflict? You're going to file that form, like I stated, with the city clerk's office, and you're going to abstain because we are home to the Astros. Whether or not you believe that they can steal signs or not, just to make sure, we ask that you leave the room because we don't want anybody to think that we are in fact doing such a thing, that you are influencing your other board members. So you also get to brag if you're related to a vendor. So if we have a vendor, like if you're going to city council, or if you're serving on a 4A or 4B corporation, if you receive 2,500 or more in the past year from that vendor, you get to brag and tell us all about it. Or if you're related within the 3rd degree of consanguinity, 2nd degree of offending. I don't know what those mean, but I have a beautiful chart sitting on my desk. So if you happen to want to know just how close that means you are to this person, I'll be happy to give you a copy. So this is a little bit more fun around Thanksgiving time. We get to brag about gifts. So state law and our code requires you to disclose gifts of lodging, transportation, entertainment, and food. Now they can also be separate. So you can be fed while you're being entertained. You can be fed while you're being flown somewhere. So these are not all individual, these are individual, they don't stack. So if you get $100 or more of value from a vendor in a rolling 12-month period, you get to fill out a form, send it to the city clerk, and we get to be jealous. I have yet to be bribed in the 25 years I've been doing this, but I'm still holding out hope that somebody somewhere will give me a fancy little food basket and say, yes, we want to influence your decision. You will notice I have a little asterisk next to the word food. That's because if you have the fortune or misfortune of having to sit across from the table with somebody who's a vendor, you can go ahead and spend up to $500 cumulatively with that person. So order the dessert, order the fancy beverage, get a to-go box, enjoy yourself because you are having to do that. And then sitting across the table means you're close enough to have a conversation. So if you're at a gala somewhere, and that would be entertainment because there's a speaker or there's some magic show or something really cool going on, and they're also feeding you, you have to report those under 2 different things, both the entertainment and the food. So there's 5 additional rules. Doing business with the city. If you have aspirations to become a city council member, you cannot have a significant contract with the city. A significant contract with the city is a contract that's valued $1,000 or more. Now that is for the entire duration of the term, not just that 3-year stint. So if you're a lifer, you're there for 9 years, keep it under 300 each year. Representations and appearances. This is one of my favorite things. This is what hat you're wearing. So if you're posting on Nextdoor, writing a letter to the editor, going out in public, you have to remember which hat you're wearing. It's not as big a deal for you as it is like for city council, who can never take the hat off. But if you're posting on Nextdoor, you say, as a resident or as a member of the advisory board, because it's very important that people know what capacity you're in. It's also fun for the animal advisory board members because they have become super popular these days and everybody seems to know them. Also, representations and appearances includes if you go in front of another board. You can go and speak in front of another board, such as planning and zoning or ZBA, to represent your own interest, but you cannot go for a year after you're serving your term. We just had 2nd reading last week. So now it's 2 years after your term to get paid. So you can't go in front of your own board or a different board for money to represent somebody. Misuse and disclosure of official information. In the unlikely event that you all get sued, you're going to have a confidential conversation with me. good times, lots in the council dining room, all kinds of legalese. State law and the code of ethics says that you can't tell anybody about those. Additionally, in your capacity as sitting on this board, you might find out some additional information that may not be open to the public just yet. We may have some special event coming up. There might be some contracts or artists or negotiations. I don't know enough to tell you. Ebony does. But once that comes up, you can't share that information out here. You can't use that to make additional funds for yourself, participating in procurement. So we pride ourselves on following state law, and we do everything by the book as far as purchases. We go out for bids, we do all that jazz. And in the unlikely event that somebody comes up to you and asks you questions related to the purchasing process or a contract that's out for bids, we're going to ask that you send it directly to our purchasing department and that you don't entertain any discussions or conversations with them. If we find out that's a conflict for you and the vendor gets disqualified, we do not do any business with any vendor who we believe has made an attempt to get inside information. We don't want to do that. And then campaign contributions. So this is for the people that are running for council. We prohibit the acceptance of campaign contributions greater for anybody who is suing the city for $25,000 or more, excluding attorneys. It's a whole amount to remember. So if someone wants to buy a lawsuit, they go sue the city, they can't buy the council member to get the answer. If you take that campaign contribution, we find out about it, you're in front of the ethics board, you got to give the money back. Okay, I went through that really fast because it's my favorite topic, probably not yours. But like I said, I went real fast. If you can't sleep tonight, you want to read a full text of the rules, it's chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances. If you have any questions, this is my favorite topic. Feel free to ask for a question for me. If you get a written ethics opinion from me prior to taking the action, it's like a get out of jail free card. So the board gets a complaint, and they go, uh-oh, and you go, no, Meredith said this, I'm in trouble, watch. So if someone doesn't follow the rules, the written complaint must be filed with the city clerk within 1 year of the event or the alleged misconduct. And it must be signed and sworn. It must include the name of the person, the name of the supposed violation, and any additional facts that you can come up with. Once that happens, it comes to me, I review it, and I go, yep, signed and sworn, person subject to the code. If that's a violation under the code, and timeline works. So give it to the Independent Ethics Review Board, then they go through it and they make their decision on whether or not a violation has occurred. And if they have found a violation, they issue sanctions. These are the 7 sanctions. We have had 3 cases so far, and I'm quite proud to say not a single person violated the ethics code. Go team. So now, do you have any questions or are y'all ready to play?
Let's play.
Let's play. Okay, this is my favorite. So, to increase revenue and promote tourism within the city, a council member has suggested the city install a friendly boat ramp at both the Brazos River Turnaround and the Oyster Creek near Constellation Field. Does it matter that this council member's daughter happens to own a rent by the hour inflatable kayak? That be a conflict of interest.
Yes.
It's a great start.
Yeah.
Always the supportive parent. The council member then makes a few calls, gets the boat ramp idea on the next Parks Board agenda. And do we have any concerns?
Sure.
Yes, they're using their position higher advantage than a regular resident. So now the Parks Board thinks this is the greatest thing since sliced cheese. They endorsed the prospect of the boat ramps and said, you know what would make this even better? Food trucks. So the next stop for the project is P&Z. As the idea is being presented, a P&Z commissioner pulls out their phone, which you're not supposed to be using your phone during a meeting, but we're not going to go there. Text their spouse, you know what? We got to buy that food truck. Do we have any violations?
Yes.
What's the violation?
Music there inside.
It was not inside info. That was a trick question
Oh,
because it was presented during the Parks Board meeting. They suggested the food truck in an open meeting. It's a trick question.
Oh.
Don't feel bad. The ethics board got that one wrong too.
well, based on what they presented in the Parks Board meeting, he said, I'm gonna buy a food truck.
Right,
that
but it was in
right?
a public meeting.
Oh,
So it was not quiet backdoor
got
information.
it. Okay, I see.
It's a trick question.
So that's not a violation.
No, that one's not a violation. Okay, so obviously we all think this boat ramp idea is fantastic. So SLDC, 4B, those are economic development corporations, want in on this. And they have decided they're gonna make an incentive to make sure that they get the best kayak company possible because this is Sugarpan, right? Good thing for this daughter, her counselor or parent sits on both economic development boards. So let's just ignore any limitations on state law. The board has decided that yes, this kayak company is the one we have to have. They give her an offer, they're gonna cover all of her costs. Do we have any violations? And if so, how many?
Gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, like,
Conflict of interest everywhere possible, right?
yeah, sure.
What should the council member have done? That's exactly right. I'll probably leave the room because, nobody else tries. All right, so financing is secured, Parks Board's on board. Council votes to grant the daughter an exclusive license. Do we have a violation here?
Who is granting her? Oh,
City
yeah,
council.
for sure.
Same council member, that parent
Yeah, no,
still
can't
has
do
a
that.
ongoing conflict of
Yes.
interest. So 6 months, everything is we're making money left and right. Unfortunately, those of us who live in Sugar Land have been to Oyster Creek by the baseball field, have seen the huge alligator, realizing this is not a smart thing to do. So we have a kayaker, full tummy from eating out of the food truck, got bit by the alligator. Injured kayaker sues the inflatable kayak company, realizing that daughter doesn't have any money. She spent it all on buying the inflatable kayaks, getting them painted. They decided to sue the city. As a result, city council gets to go in the backdoor session and get legal advice from me. We have some concerns.
No? No
My only
concern?
concern would be that council member could not go into an executive session because he would get inside information related to his daughter's lawsuit. So city council now settles the lawsuit, revokes the license and says, you know what, anybody wants to be alligator food, bring your own kayak, have fun. So now we have a local resident and business owner is a little bit mad because he wanted to get this incentive. He wanted a chance. So then he goes and files a complaint. So we're at the day of reckoning. The Ethics Commission now has this complaint. And as we've gone through this, we've talked about the different types of things and the different violations. So what violations do you think the Ethics Commission would sustain? We have the council member. And he's got conflict of interest all over the place.
Oh,
Yeah.
We have determined the P and Z member did not have a conflict because he found out the information
in a public meeting.
Had the council member at the very beginning filed the COI, abstained and walked out, we'd have had no violations,
No
correct?
violation. Just by that one little,
That
thing.
one snowball just kept rolling
Mhm.
and rolling. I did present this to the ethics board. They also missed the food truck thing. I'm so proud of my trick question. And they gave us suggestions along the way as to what the violations would have been. At the beginning, had it just been, he suggested it and then recused himself, no violations. By the time they got all the way through, the ethics board said they would have recommended recall. Because it was so offensive by the time they got. So that's all I have. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Your turn.
Break to, the field tech. Check from tech.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There's a good amount of stuff I didn't know.
I know, right?
That's.
Have you done?
I can't complain.
Yeah, can't complain.
Busy. Took some time off to go to Paris.
Oh, me too.
I have a good friend who's an artist. He had a show opening there. So I went.
That's awesome. How long were you? Jim was in Paris too.
Oh,
Yeah, he had that song. I think it's gonna get some gigs in there.
I'm gonna have to look because I hate, oh my God,
Uh-huh.
we were there at the same
Yeah,
time.
I wonder. I wonder.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure we follow each other. We're fumbling through this, it's gonna get easier. We're fumbling through this, it's gonna get easier.
I believe it. Once we kind of get. So
Get-
we'll do this.
Get all of this. together.
Okay, yes, so then
Yeah.
we need to go back.
It's gonna get,
Ultimately, where Sunday one. Yeah.
now that we.
So we'll go back to, so we're gonna go back to item 4.
Okay.
For
Call that one open, yes.
election of officers? Okay.
We're gonna go back to, okay, yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Okay. Election of officers. Consideration of an action on election of a vice chair for term ending August 2026. Ms. Shay Davis.
Yes, so again, we're just confirming, our election of. So if you can nominate and then vote.
I nominate Eric Estrada
Second,
as vice chair of the Music Advisory Board.
I'll second,
Vote.
go for it.
All in favor, aye.
Alright.
All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go all the way down and we'll drop to that last item, which is our workshop. So this is where we're gonna have our conversation about those 2025-26 priorities that we kind of were throwing around and kind of before we got everything formalized of what we want this board to look like, especially for this next year. So we already know that one of the primary objectives is to make sure that we're growing the directory. Not just growing the directory, also getting accurate information into the directory. So the first thing that we really want to do is get out into the community and find out what venues, what artists, what musicians exist, what agencies exist, like who are we able to work with in the community? And so one of the first things that we really want to discuss is like, how do you guys want to go about spreading the word about the existence of this board, about the existence of this music certification for the city, and about our goal of expanding out into the city and assisting, you know, the build out of this music industry here. And so obviously I'll leave that for open discussion.
I guess my question is, what is the method that we have if somebody were to come out of the blue and say, hey, I want to be on your directory, I want to be involved? How do we gather that information and where does it go and how accessible is it to do that? Because I think that will
Mhm.
inform what we want to do to get more people.
Right now, the Texas Music Office is developing an electronic database, but everything is an Excel spreadsheet right now.
Mhm.
So I'll share out that Excel spreadsheet for you guys and it's just gonna be live and you can just add their information to the directory
Okay.
right now. Texas Music Office is hoping to roll that out in the next month or two to where there's a City of Sugar Land page. You can go on there and enter your information and we can maybe generate a QR code that goes on the website, things like that. But right now they haven't rolled that out. So it's just an Excel spreadsheet and I turn that into them every month as it's updated. So that's kind of where we are with it. But I can share it out to you guys. And as you're in the community and you're noticing venues and you're getting the information, you can update that at your will. So we can kind of grow those numbers because right now we're at 11. But I know there's more. There has to be.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
for sure.
For sure.
yeah. So what is your thought process around kind of expanding the kind of notoriety around the music advisory board? Because right now, no one knows we're here. And so one of the things that we definitely want to do is establish our first event that we can host. And I know there was conversation about an open mic or performances. We do have Make Music Day on June 21st. Please mark that down. That is coming up and that's going to be a really big day for us to make sure that we're present in about 3 to 4 activation locations, booking bands, bringing people down and really collecting their information, adding it to the database, making sure we got banners, like, you know, that's something we'll take care of, but we want to make sure we have a presence before that so people know to come to this. So do you have any ideas of something we can do as an introductory or, you know, what are you thinking? And Eric's, I'm definitely going to lean on you for like ideas for,
Mhm,
you know, kind of
mhm.
you know, unconventional things.
Yeah, I kind of see us like maybe setting up some sort of like tapping into what other things are going on leading up to that here, that we could put like some sort of information booth, right? Kind of catch some traffic that way and create like a presence and provide education, information about what's going on. I think that could be cool. I mean, obviously you gotta do some pounding to the pavement, some grassroots stuff too, but, I mean, I'm just trying to think like how many face-to-face opportunities can we create or identify where we can just plug in and start passing out some information.
Okay, so we do have Jazz Fest and Sweet Beats and Eats coming up, so I can reach out to them and see if it's a potential for us to set up a table and have some conversations at those events as well. But those will be mostly with residents, right, or music lovers. So how would you suggest that we get to the music schools? Like, should we just be, you know, searching up, calling, emailing? Like, what would you guys be comfortable with as far as building those connections?
With the music schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, music schools, teachers,
Yeah.
what would you?
Partner
feedback
with
on that?
the music school from last year,
Mm.
all of the.
You're used.
Well, all of the inquiries that we get
Yeah.
based on our, city, music roster. Maybe have an outdoor event or some sort of event where we invite the buskers and all of the, people who are
That's cool.
interested in.
Like an interest meeting.
An interest meeting and just, come out and this is how you become connected and blah, blah, blah. We can have we can increase our already existing database,
Yeah.
with these people. We've got there's a school that reached out to us, that I can recall,
Okay.
spreading the word that way, and using those little grassroots way to infiltrate the community. To bring, moving up to, the level of Eric's, so far sound, and how you connect that way. There's gotta be connections in there somewhere,
I just have a question before we chase it too far. I know we talked about wanting to grow a directory of performers
Mhm.
and our directory of venues.
Yes.
And I know they're each gonna have a separate.
Is that a
Mm.
separate thing? Yeah, that's a
So,
separate thing.
so which one are we talking about right now? We're talking about trying to grow our directory of performers more or the venue directory?
I think if we have an interest meeting, it should be everyone is
Okay.
invited. Like we should invite
Venues
venues.
and
we can-
performers?
Yes, we should invite everyone so that they can mingle with each other. We can have some performances like we had spoken of.
Yeah,
And kind of get as many people as we can in the room.
Yeah.
I think right now not to divide so much down the middle. That would be my perspective of try to just get everyone in the room at the same time. And there was this initial idea also of seeing who we can get from city departments too, because they are always hiring musicians. They
Right.
come to us for them.
Yeah.
But having that person to person connection could be good. So I think getting as many people in the room as we can, buyers, agents,
Mhm.
venues, artists.
Mhm.
How can we make a community that is stable?
I like the open mic idea that had been kind of kicked around and discussed before. a
Yeah,
little
we
bit.
did.
I think that'll for sure get musicians,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mhm.
that's easy.
Mhm.
Like an open mic like you can come and, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you can you
That'll
can
get everyone, agents,
book a 10-minute
performers.
slot to
Ooh, I like that.
to play and perform, or if you have like a DJ set or something.
That's cool.
And then I think if we do something like that, I think there's benefit to making it open to the public to attend, and then also wanting to get that same message to the public attendees, because a lot of those people will also know other people who are. a good fit.
So what do you guys think about doing that on Make Music Day?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
That will give
Oh,
us a
yeah.
date that we already have location secured and we can advertise that widely using all of our funds. Right now we have Smart Financial Center and I am talking to the brewery because they're open to having performances on their stage as well.
Mhm.
So, and then we also are gonna activate the farmer's market during that day as well. So we'll have 3 locations. We can't do Town Square because they're having a Juneteenth fest that day. But the brewery for sure, Talia said they were open. So we can do performances on their stage.
What about that vacant restaurant? No, not a.
Oh, yeah, that vacant, we can't activate that vacant
Restaurant
space
with a
where the
stage.
barbecue place was.
We could theoretically, but remember, there's not a lease there right now, so we would have to. Just for that. We don't.
Got it.
These are all indoor spaces.
Yes.
Okay.
Talier's is outdoor.
Okay.
Talier's is outdoor. And then Smart Financial is also outdoor. Matter of fact, Imperial Farmers Market is also outdoor. These are all
Oh, it is.
outdoor. Yeah, they're all outdoor. But we were seeking an indoor space.
There's value. Sure, we got at least.
What else? Smart Financial was indoor.
Do you-
Especially in June, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Smart
Yeah.
Financial was indoor.
It's that plaza outdoor.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we activated that
I
plaza.
mean, there's like a pro and con, I feel, because like indoors, of course, like weather and stuff, but I do feel like an outdoor space might kind of encourage people coming and going a little more instead of
Mhm.
having to like go in a door and sit down.
Mhm. More free flowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so activations for Make Music Days, that's what we're thinking. Or at least one that feels like an artist interest meeting.
Mhm.
I think that's a really good idea. So I'll talk to Tyler's about that, and then we can talk definitely at the next meeting on refining what that should look like, because I want to get confirmation for them before that meeting. So then we can talk about activation times, how many slots we can open up, how many artists we want to try to procure for that.
Mhm. and if there's
So,
any kind of limitations on which artists we want to apply
yeah,
for, like,
especially with sound and all of that. stuff.
Yeah, you don't, yeah, yeah. You gotta keep it pretty simple,
Yeah.
which is gonna eliminate a lot of, well, a good chunk of people.
When something a little bit more casual and smaller and scale like a farmer's market type thing might be more achievable versus like a significant stage.
Well, that's the cool thing with Make Music Days. We'll be activating so many spaces that we will have buskers at the farmer's market. And then the Talliers thing is gonna be the closing of that night.
Cool.
So that's when we can do the bigger performances. They have a large stage. I don't know about their sound system though. I do know they have a stage, but I don't know if they have installed outdoor sound.
Like built-in PA,
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't know. You don't think so?
Is
Yeah,
that seen?
that's gonna be.
Farmers bringing in.
That's such a Houston thing, dude.
Mhm.
That's something we need to write down to have a conversation about because a couple of things that have come to me from venue owners is their increase in cost of insurance
Mhm.
due to bringing bands in, and then sound ordinance in a lot of ways prevents them from installing outdoor sound
Mhm.
because they don't know what the decibel rating is. Um,
We will be bringing to y'all the sound ordinance. Some changes to it, so we'll be bringing the film.
Sure.
Sweet. Yes. So with that, I'll talk to Talliers in the next week or so. And then for the next meeting, I'll have like time so we can talk about slides and how we actually want to get that done. So we can close out the day there.
Mhm.
But we will have buskers all day at Imperial's Farmers Market, since that is Saturday, so they'll already be there. I've worked with you before on securing buskers. We can bring in some new people
Mhm.
who aren't on that previous list. And they are paid slots too, so that's even better. So they're not just out there for free taking tips. So we can kind of look into bringing in some higher end buskers for that, so people can really see what that looks like. What else are you guys thinking as far as, making sure we can get venue owners in there, because that's for performers, like, how can we touch venue owners? And I know this is definitely your area.
Yeah,
And then also keep in mind, the Texas reimbursement is going on too. So we really need to spread the word about the reimbursement for the taxes. So Texas Music Office is reimbursing up to $300,000 to venues that see, I think, 3,000 people a year. Smaller venues, up to $300,000 of tax reimbursement for booking artists.
that's cool.
It's
Yeah,
massive. and
that's
it's-
really
That's
cool.
really our responsibility to spread around the city.
Yeah.
So that could be like what you were saying, like a
Mhm.
separate channel.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Once we identify that, because I think, just gotta find a way to package the benefits and then, and even more so be like, hey, here's how like turnkey we could make it for you.
Yeah.
Whether you want to manage that on your own, we could like provide a little consulting, or, if you want there to be some sort of entity or connect you with someone that, like a so far, like where it's like you just open your doors and that's it.
Yeah.
But just kind of
That
help
needs like
them.
an infographic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They
Like,
have them on the site too, so we
Yeah.
can print them off,
Cool.
and that way we don't have to generate that ourselves.
yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, I think
we
you
can do that.
package like, hey, here's the benefit, or if you just always wanted to do it, here's what it looks like, whether you manage it or someone manages it. Because I think because even when I visit with, owners or potential venue hosts, things like that, like their expectations of just like logistics, load-in's wrong, or they expect you to make up like a certain amount of revenue for them. You're like, whoa, or their budget's just not there.
Yeah.
So I think providing them with a little bit of framework can maybe help them be a little bit more
Mhm.
motivated to act on stuff.
Yeah.
Would y'all be interested?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
yeah,
that would be cool.
As far as finding venues, this is part of the question why I was asking how our directory works, because I feel like if we are like taking like a this board forward approach to finding venues, we'll be limited by just like the places that we all go.
Yeah.
But if there is some kind of easy to access or upload to like portal where people can just like type in like, hey, this is a place that I go in Sugar Land that has live music and I know they're booking it, then we can kind of focus just on making sure everybody who lives here just knows that exists, and say if there's like, the city wants to know if there's places you like to go that has live music, tell us about it.
That's
you know?
cool.
So like a
That's
community
cool.
Yeah,
input portal.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's, even if 1% of people put something in, that's so much more
That's a
than
lot.
6 of us.
Mm.
Yeah. So what I've done is, I think I sent it to you, but I generated a form that's gonna go on our website so
Mm.
people can upload their individual music festivals that they have.
Yeah.
So, something outside of the city,
Mhm.
if they're having a music festival for Diwali, like you can put that into our portion of the city website and let us know that that's coming up so that we can let the music office know, right?
Yeah.
And so what we can do is add an extension to that and say, hey, are you a venue?
Yeah.
Would you, what, do you have your calendar for the year? Like update that. So
Mhm.
that's something we can definitely add to the website and then give you guys access to.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
That's perfect. Because then we can, of course, use that ourselves, but we can also try to work to just blast that out to like just all the residents
Yeah.
too. To say like, hey, like we want to make, we want to help put more music in your life.
Yeah, tell
Share
us
this
what
with
you
people,
want.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want.
That's
And
Yeah.
then someone will be like, oh, the bar that's around the corner, like I know they
Mhm.
always have a DJ on Thursdays. Let me just go ahead and upload that, and it could be someplace we've never heard.
Yeah, and then, I mean, obviously, pop up less than 3.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
see who's performing and,
Yeah.
and try to collect the performance information, like, try to show up to some of these venues and support and figure out who's performing and let them know we exist.
Yeah.
Another thing that we've been talking about is it's kind of like a sponsorship program.
Mhm.
We don't have a whole bunch of money this year, but we got some money to kind of sponsor performances at individual venues and we pay the band if you bring them in. As long as it's a free performance. So that's something that we really, really like to start and kind of spread around to venues as we meet them.
Yeah.
So I think the interest meeting would be a good spot to kind of, once we develop an application process and what we can do is figure out what the metrics are and we can talk about that at another meeting. Like, how do we judge those applications and how do we know who we're going to accept and in that way we can kind of move forward in the fall
Mhm.
with that kind of program.
Is there,
That is the big requirement.
is there any, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is here, some, platform or office with a different department in the city where lots of bars or restaurants or parks or anything in the city of Sugarland often go through for their needs that we could kind of like slip in a flyer with them or something?
Absolutely. We can talk to economic development and redevelopment because they work with a lot of businesses in the city in general. So we can definitely see if we can get them to maybe pop into the next meeting. And you think we could get redevelopment into a meeting to discuss access to businesses or how they go about that, or maybe give us some guidance? Okay.
Especially if you're saying like it's the option to sponsor live music in their space, if there are local, other kinds of businesses that could benefit from having some
Yeah.
live music there, because it would help them get customers in. That might be a good like for us to also.
Yeah.
And wouldn't food inspection have lists like that?
Yeah.
Inspection should have lists like that, like would venues have
Ordinance of any sort.
performance
List of
space, I don't.
I can ask, well, it's not something that they automatically track, but I mean, when you go into all of the food establishments. Anywhere where there's food and drinks served, I mean, they get a pretty good idea of what's in the different facilities, so we can ask them to.
That would give us,
Let's-
another side, maybe.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Okay, so we have a couple different ways to improve the overall roster. With that being said, obviously we have our next meeting set. And then that is all gonna fall right before Make Music Day. So
Right.
as we can pull up our calendars and kind of look and see what we're hoping for to discuss Make Music Day, because this secondary meeting is not gonna be, enough, obviously,
Yeah.
to make sure we have all of this done, and we'll be doing a majority of the legwork, but just so we all know where we need to be, and obviously, definitely working with you guys on, make sure we have new artists that are rotating in, because we do have a roster, but we've been using that roster for the last year. And I think it's important to bring in new artists. So with that being said, how would you guys like in the next month as we prepare for our next meeting to be able to move forward with, I'll get you the Excel spreadsheet, but to be able to move forward with kind of letting artists know about Make Music Day and getting them on board for performances?
Our next meeting is May 12th.
Yeah, that's gonna be kind of late.
I think the best would be if we just have a clear breakdown of the details of the event, like what is exactly is gonna happen and where, and like how many performers
Mhm.
we're looking for and how long they're gonna play, like, all the info that they would need, then it'll be very doable for us to just quickly find some people who
Mm-hmm.
can fill those slots, and of
Okay.
course, open it up to anybody else who wants to as well.
So we'll have that information for May 12th meeting. So
Cool.
we'll make sure that's on the agenda for May 12th meeting to make some decisions on artists.
Yeah.
So if what we can do is kind of think about who we might want to bring, and then we can share that information amongst each other, and then we can make some decisions on who we want to pursue with the information that we have, because I want to make sure the things are on the agenda. Anything we have to make decisions on, like we can talk about anything, but anything we have to make decisions on have to be on here.
Mhm.
So bring artists next meeting that you would like to see at Make Music Day.
Mhm.
There are gonna be two different options. So the first one at Smart Financial Center, that's gonna be all lessons.
Mhm.
So you can bring your guitar and take lessons. We'll have some different instruments. We'll have teachers out there. So from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on June 21st, we'll all be at Smart Financial Center, and they'll be just teaching and just lessons.
Cool.
And that same window from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., there will be buskers at Imperial's Farmers Market. And then from 6 to 10, from what I understand, we will be at Talyards Brewery. So those would be our 3 activations for the day. It's a very long day.
Should be like open mic at Talyards in the evening.
Yeah, but I want to make sure we have
Signs up.
anchor performers too.
For
You know
sure.
how important
Yeah,
that is.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Oh,
right.
Like, cause if we have too much rambunctiousness up there, people
Right,
will start to
got it.
leave
Yeah.
because it gets crazy.
Mhm.
So we do want to make sure we have anchor performers. So the really good ones need to be
Good
in
ones.
between the
Got it.
amateur
Sure.
Okay, got
ones,
it.
or people.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
So
yeah.
we want to push, if we know of like an opportunity that's a little bigger, push that towards the
Absolutely.
evening.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And then we'll get a lot of our solid, but maybe amateur performers for
Yeah.
Imperial Farmers Market.
Mhm.
So let's make sure from 10 to 2, we usually do 2 slots, but I think we can break that up into smaller, because they usually only have like a amp and a
Mhm.
mic, and it's not like a big
Oh,
setup
this is a
out there.
Saturday this year.
Mhm.
Oh, it sure is. Okay.
Yeah,
got
so
it.
we can do,
Could we extend that time because it's Make Music Day?
we could, but they're only out there from 10 to 2 anyway, right? Yeah, so they're
Oh,
only
they're
out
only
there from
out there.
10 to 2.
Okay.
So with 4 hours, we can do, 20-minute slots. We
Mhm.
can get 10 to 12 people out there
Mhm.
easy without overwhelming anyone.
Mhm.
So we need 10 to 12 buskers, and I'd say we need at least 6 performers for Talyards.
And at least 6.
Yes,
Okay.
and 3 of those need to be anchor, and then we can do 3 amateurs. We don't want to overwhelm it
3
because
anchor.
we also want to go up and have conversation. We want to have networking time. But we do want to have the board go up and talk about the reimbursement programs for the venue owners.
Mhm.
And then we want to talk to the artists about the roster and there are things that we want to talk about in between, and then also let people just explore Talyards. We can see if we can schedule a tour through the brewery, things like that. So
Farmers market is 9.
9 to 1.
9 to 1.
Oh,
So we can definitely have those people prepared and ideas for next week. I know you'll probably have 80% of them, but just thinking of people
Yeah.
who, because I know they're not on our roster, and we really want to grow that.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if they're coming down from Sugar Land or coming up from Richmond, because the idea is to steal people and make them come here.
Yeah.
Because we already know that we don't have the community yet.
Mhm.
So if we can steal people from local areas and bring them to Sugar Land and get them to want to come perform here, that is the goal.
Yeah. So
Um,
somebody based in Houston, if they were like
Mhm.
open to coming out playing all the time, that's the way.
Absolutely, we're stealing, we're thieving, we're only thieving.
Perfect.
Yes, and then when people from Sugar Land see people performing, then they'll come out. too.
Yeah.
That's the hope. So we do have the May 6th meeting, I believe.
12.
Well,
May 12th, so we'll need one more meeting. If you guys can, by any chance, check your calendars now.
Mhm.
We'll need at least one more meeting before June 21st. If there's anything that you guys know that you can do.
Outside of the 12.
maybe like an early June meeting?
Yeah.
Or late
that would
May?
be just to confirm
Okay.
details, ask any questions,
Yeah,
logistics, things like that.
yeah, I'm flexible, just depends on what everyone else can do.
You said no Tuesdays, right?
Yeah, no Tuesdays or Thursdays or third Wednesdays.
Oh, my goodness.
As you can see, this is challenging. Mondays seem to be really the best.
What about like June 4th?
Yeah, I was gonna say the 4th as well.
Is there anything?
Yeah,
Look, they're like, hold on.
June 4 could work. Yeah.
that still gives us, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we could book I think in 3 weeks out. for
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's.
And this isn't like this kind of meeting. This
No,
is
it's
just
this kind
us.
of meeting.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
this kind of meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our meetings are this kind of meeting.
We have a Make Music Alliance meeting that day.
That's fine. We'll have it at night.
We have an offsite meeting at 2:30 that day as well.
Okay, so we'll have it at 6 anyway, because you
perfect.
usually
So it would
get
be
off.
at 6.
Maybe
Okay.
6:30 would be
Or
better for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
if
do
possible.
6:30.
Yeah. So we're
I know
talking
you're, like,
6:4.
Thanks.
6:4 at 6:30.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let me put that in.
City Hall?
No.
Okay, no conflicts. Okay, so we'll get that one squared away.
So that's our third meeting.
Yes,
Got it. So May 12, 5/12.
I think we're good here.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
fine.
Parking was easier to understand.
Yeah.
Yes, this
Nice,
is.
okay.
I wasn't checking my car, like, is it still there? Is it still there?
So we're good. So 5/12 and then 6/4.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great.
Let me make
Oh,
sure.
nice. Okay, good. It's good for everyone.
It's
Sweet.
good,
She's like,
yeah.
not me. I live in Keene, so I'm screwed either way.
Okay. Good.
Okay, sweet. That's good.
Okay.
So
So next time, come with some ideas on. people
yes, yes, and then
Okay.
we can confirm all the information by that final June meeting. And then we're up and running. We'll have flyers, everything by then.
Mhm.
We've already updated the website, but I'm gonna update it again so that form is there. So we can really hone in on that the next meeting as well. We can look at the form, see if there's any edits that need to be made. We'll have a draft form ready. If you guys have any feedback on that, I'll make sure that that's up on the site so we can look at it next meeting.
Yeah.
So it is already like a event form that we've generated, but we'll add some just questions for just venue owners. Do you have any suggestions for, like, obviously we have events and we have venue owners. Do you want to have artists to be able to submit? Like, do you want
Yeah. I think
like
that would be
artist
nice.
submission, venue submission, and then event submission, like 3 different?
I think that'd be nice. We
Okay,
might get people, uploading and nominating their, high school sophomore kids, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
We can fine tune it and have some, things that we're looking for, but
Yeah.
it's better to have some submissions at all than
yeah,
be hunting them down ourselves.
I agree.
I think getting as much input initially.
Yeah.
Until we figure out, exactly what worked, because it's gonna be a lot of trial and error, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
Because in a perfect world, people could just come to you and upload it themselves and say,
Mhm.
I know these performers and these venues and stuff.
And it'd all be great information.
Yeah, exactly. That would be perfect. But
It'll
you-
be
you
more
might just have to do
valuable.
some legwork first, yeah.
sweet.
Sounds good.
Okay, so artist interest meeting, we're gonna have that night, Talliards, during Make Music Day. Are there any particular topics that you feel like we really need to address that night? And you don't have to have this today, we can have that for the next meeting. But obviously, we're gonna talk about the reimbursement, we're gonna talk about the incubator program that they're having. And then we'll talk about our artist registry and all of that, but I think one of the biggest questions is gonna be like, what happens after Make Music Day, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
what do we expand into? Obviously, we have the sponsorship for the venues, and then that'll get more artists performing.
Mhm.
But what does that look like as far as event space after this?
I mean, I think it would be cool if eventually this leads to like an open calendar that
Mhm.
could be accessed by the public, but also by people looking to play. Like if they're like, man, August is really light for work, let me go to
Yeah,
that.
it is
Triple M
really
calendar,
light for work.
look at it, and be like, they have some open dates that's free. Okay, I see that they don't have anything on that
As far as
day.
opportunities.
Yeah,
concerned.
then maybe I can, click the button that says contact us and say, hey, I
Yeah.
noticed you don't have anything on Friday, the 8th, and I'm looking for some work. Do you know of a venue? Like, that would be
That is
a nice outcome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So some way for venues and artists to kind of communicate and
Yeah.
share. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. Okay, so we'll definitely put that on the list for the artist interest meeting when we have those conversations, because it'd be cool to have a couple venues that volunteer so we can run kind of like a pilot program on that.
Mhm.
And see if they'd be willing to open their calendars to artist submissions.
Yeah.
So maybe we could pick, like, for instance, Talliards, that's the first one that comes because they volunteered to do this.
Mhm.
So that's the first one that comes to mind. Pythagoras, is another
Mhm.
location. They love jazz bands, and they're always looking for jazz bands, but they do have that insurance problem of like their insurance goes up.
If it's a certain type of genre.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
oh, yeah,
Really?
Didn't know
yeah,
that.
I had to buy it for one of my blast events and,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, oh, it's all classical. It's
Yeah,
not-
I
it's
know,
not- It's
right?
not plugged in, so. 'Cause
Yep,
even if it
same.
was like
Wow.
punk music or, yeah, like, it was like.
I'm imagining the insurance policy written in like the 1940s. Be like, we don't want any of
No
this.
rock, no
Just like
heavy
it's
metal.
bebop or
Yeah.
Bebop.
Which is so crazy because most of the rock bands I know are like 3 times my age and they're not doing all of that.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah.
why are you being so red?
Yep.
But that's something also that when we talk about the end of the year wrap up, when we start talking about, we want to take the council in our review of what we found, our
Mhm.
findings, that conversation
Mhm.
of, do you know that this is happening to your businesses in the city?
Yeah.
That insurance rates are going up based on genre. that
Yeah.
they book. Like, that's something I feel like council needs to know.
Yeah.
So as we're going through this, we definitely want to be collecting data and seeing how the city is operating as far as the music community is concerned, because this is something we have to take to council and also the Texas Music Office to let them know, hey, these are the improvements that we want to see that are above and beyond the board.
Mhm.
These are more council decisions.
Mhm.
And so we want to definitely be taking that data and making sure we're compiling it and having it ready for overall conversation in January to take to council.
And to confirm, I'm sorry, the artist interest meeting is going to take place at Talliers on Make Music Day?
Yes.
That's part of that. Okay, I got it.
And I think it'd be cool to also just share about what our goals are as a board here too, be like, hey,
Yeah.
if you're a performer or you host performances in your venue, come and give public comment at our next meeting and tell us
Yeah.
what you want.
I love that.
Yeah,
So
That
open
would
the
be
meeting
cool.
up to public
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah, for
we can have
sure.
guests here, like
Yeah.
venue owners.
I
yeah,
think that'd be great. I think we should have a public town hall in general
Mhm.
and get some feedback from people, because there's so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
That they're going through outside of the insurance issue. So I think a public town hall would be a really great follow-up to Make Music Day, maybe.
that would be cool, yeah. Yeah, I'd love to keep providing like as much value and education, for, well, the artists to be, obviously work on the business end, which is always
Yeah.
what they struggle with.
Yeah.
Know their resources, know those, the rebate stuff we're talking about, for venues to know how to bring music to them based on what they want to do, and
Yeah.
anyone else, right? Like, just provide as much value on, hey, here's how we make things happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we need like a needs assessment.
Mm.
Just
Absolutely,
tell us what you
yeah.
need and we'll figure it out. But
Yeah.
We have to know what you need.
Yeah, otherwise we can't package together, yeah.
I love that.
Community
Okay,
needs
so
assessment.
definitely after Make Music Day, we need some kind of needs assessment town hall.
Right.
To find out what the state of the music is from their perspective.
Right.
Mhm.
Which means we should have that on the books before Make Music
Before
Day.
Make Music Day, so we can promote it at Make Music Day.
Good
Okay.
point.
Let's,
Good
what I'll do is check calendar
Mhm.
before our next meeting, and then we'll confirm that date at next meeting as well. So we'll put that on agenda for next meeting as well.
Cool.
Love it.
Sounds good.
Any
So it's gonna be May
other?
12th. Okay, great.
So any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Because we've addressed all of
Yeah.
what I have written down. What do you guys got?
I'm good, this is a lot.
It is.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, I'm
Today.
excited, yeah.
My last question,
Mhm.
for everything coming up that we're gonna do on Make Music Day, if I reach out to people and say, hey, like, this thing is coming up and are you interested, I can connect you with Shay. Should I tell them that if for the lessons and the buskers and stuff too, like, it is paid, I don't know what it's paid, talk to Shay, but it is paid?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just send them to us and we'll figure it out. And then, as we go in through the securing, we'll talk about that at the next meeting.
Okay.
So that June 6th meeting
Mhm.
that we have, that's when we'll talk about the people we're able to kind of get in contact with, confirm, look at slots, because we'll make that decision together, right?
Yeah.
Like, who needs to be slotted where?
Right,
So that'll be a decision we'll make together.
okay,
But I think that's a great idea, for sure.
sounds good.
Sweet. Okay, so what do we do when we're done?
Motion, all right, motion to adjourn,
Second.
at 7:14. Oh, nice.
All right.
Any